Hi everybody, it's Amber Marie in Arizona, AZ. This is my first Stitch With Me video, but I wanted to show you what we're working on real quick. This is In Harmony. I pulled it out of the plastic real quick. And we're up in here. Sorry, it's a glossy picture, guys. It's filling in these shadowed trees, because obviously this piece is at night. So what we're doing is in here. This right here is what we're filling in. I went ahead and did all the parts in charcoal gray so that I could just work through on a Stitch With Me. And now we're doing this symbol right here, which is a blend of 2 strands of charcoal gray and 1 strand of black. So, let me put this in there. You can see where we're at on there, all in here. Sorry about the little white hairs, guys. That is just the way my life is. I am disabled, and I have American Eskimo canines that are my service puppies, my babies. So, there is inevitably going to be pretty sparkly white hair in everything that I stitch. And it doesn't normally show or bother me, but on this navy blue canvas, oh boy does it show. So I've got a little coffee here. Nothing new for me. And I've gone ahead, let me get this in frame for you, and begun with the 2 blended threads. I guess you guys call these stitches like right in here where you have a couple darker inside the charcoal or the darker blues inside the lighter. Younger stitchers are calling that confetti stitches. When I learned to stitch back in the 1970s, it was just shading, guys. That's just shading stitches. So I'm going to get you positioned comfortably here where I'm not putting tension on you or my back. Your view or my back, and position my light better. There we go. So I was looking at all of these tags for stitchers and went, I'm not really a tag kind of lady anyway. So I'm just going to, instead of the Know Your Stitcher tag, let's tell you a little about me and my stitching world. When I was 5 years old, my grandma taught me to crochet. Excuse me, my grandson is out of his room where he's not supposed to be. Sorry about that. 4-year-olds. He's supposed to be laying down for his nap. And he and his mom are here. So, which is my youngest child. Youngest of 3. And they're all in their, she's in her mid-20s. The other 2 kids are in their late 20s. My son, who was in the Navy. And my eldest daughter, who, well, Tia's just Tia. She does what she wants to do. That is her nickname. She's not a big fan of her real name. Just because people always mispronounce it. So, and I can understand that. Anyway, so when I was 5, my grandma taught me to crochet. And she really enjoyed doing embroidery. Beautiful edges on pillowcases and things to that effect when I was a child. And so she got a hold of some Aida cloth and some of her floss. And Grandma being Grandma. Because she was just a really, really neat lady. I just went through where I shouldn't have, I think. Yes, I did. She was a really neat lady, and she was incredibly talented at her stitching. She, when I was 7 years old, sat me down, and because I guess I wouldn't quit bugging her, let me reposition that, about wanting to learn to do what she did. Didn't have a mom around, so, you know, it was my dad. And he could sew very well. This is why I do not like the Stitch Magic versus the Thread Heaven. And I'm trying to find one single container of Thread Heaven. Nowhere in the Metro Phoenix area. None. It's heartbreaking for me. Anyway. So, my grandma decided it would be much easier to just teach me than hear me whine about wanting to learn. And bug her to tears. I was already up under her feet whenever she was in the kitchen, and which was cool with her, because I learned all of the family recipes before she passed away when I was 28. But my dad taught me how to sew. My grandma taught me to crochet at 5, cross stitch and needlepoint at 7, or cross stitch and embroidery, I'm sorry. And then when I was 16, my dad taught me how to sew clothing and things like that. He had been in the Navy, and that skill really saved him with, hems and putting on badges. Actually made him some extra money aboard ship, which, that never hurts when you're out in the middle of nowhere. So then I had my kids, and I crocheted their little blankets, and they were all really small kids, babies. So in order to, have good fitting clothes for them, basically I had to make it, because back in the late 80s and early 90s, there weren't exactly an abundance of quote-unquote preemie clothes. Even though my kids weren't preemies, they were just, newborn clothes was kind of baggy on my kids. Not my thing, So, yeah, they were very, very, very cute little babies. I'm not sure exactly what happened. No, they're great kids. They really are. So, when I was 30 years old, I was hit by a drunk driver and disabled and stuck in bed, told I would never learn to walk again, that it was impossible because there was too much damage to my spine. And boy, were they wrong, because I'm too stubborn to listen to that garbage. Thank goodness. And while stuck in this dark room, I bought a book on knitting and taught myself to knit, and then a book on quilting and taught myself to quilt by machine and hand. And my favorite part of quilting has always been hand applique. So, again, hand sewing, I guess. And so I have to kind of cycle everything that I do, dependent on if I have gifts to make for people that year, because my kids will come back and go, Mom, I need a new hat. Yeah, it's kind of funny. So, that's pretty much my needleworking history, and probably depending on what I'm doing for the time of year, you will see videos on different things. And I worked very hard to get a master's level in knitting design and knitwear, knitting, period. And the same with quilting, because I like very artistic types of quilts. This part of the stitching is too much to put on a frame for my arthritis, so we're working the old way, before they had all of the fancy stuff that we have available to us. And I've got my phone positioned in one of my stitching frames, because I don't have a camera or a tripod to film with. I've been doing YouTube videos for natural pain control methods concerning fibromyalgia or any other chronic pain illness. And, hi, Chrissy. And just general vlogs, things to that effect. A couple of knitting instruction, a couple of, cooking recipes. For 4 years, this come August. So, I had seen Flosstube out there, and was like, I'm not really, stitching or anything like that at this point. And I figured it was just like embroidery, things like that. Needlepoint. I had no idea that it involved a lot of cross stitch. And when I learned that, I watched a few videos. Stitcherista was the first Flosstuber I watched, and then on the same day, I found Mary Rose at Stitch Bliss Corner. I absolutely love her. She happens to like Teresa Wensler designs, and she is my favorite cross-stitch designer. Although you wouldn't think I'd be really into a lot of fantasy cross-stitching, I love her carousel horses. Absolutely love them. I rode horses for the majority of my life. But this piece is a tribute piece. 2 years ago, well, I've had the piece for about 8 to 10 years and never stitched it. It was a gift from my youngest daughter. Because I have American Eskimo puppies, and they're pure white, and they're part Arctic wolf, and they look, you can see by looking at them that they're very much wolf. Very sweet babies. But my first puppy, Snowy, he was 16, just over 16 and a half, when he passed away in February of 2016. And 9 weeks before that, we had very suddenly lost my first little girl, Frosty, to a uterine infection that we did not know could occur. No one had bothered to tell us. And so that was very difficult to lose my babies 9 weeks apart. And I still have their little girl, Chrissy, Crystal in Winter, and you'll see her if you look on my Instagram. She's all over it, as she should be. And after we lost the babies, after we lost Frosty, we were informed of a little mini American Eskimo who had been found on the streets of East Mesa, which is many miles from here. And she only weighed 12 pounds. She was starving to death. And the Arizona American Eskimo Association contacted me and said, would you be willing to take a look at this little girl? We need to, you know, get her fostered and cared for. Find her a home. Well, I met her, and we told them, no, we will not foster her, but we will happily become her family. And so Snowy trained her, and she became a natural seizure alert animal, and my son developed seizures while he was in the Navy, and so she has been quite helpful with his health. So that's how that all came about. And then Snowy passed away, and we found out that our only non-purebred, at the time a 6-week-old puppy, was going to be thrown in a dumpster because an American Eskimo had mated with a Chihuahua, and they didn't know, you know, how that was going to do for the puppy's health, and they didn't want to be bothered with him. So he was born on February 29th, 2 years ago, and we named him Spooky Doo. I love Scooby-Doo cartoons. So he ended up training because my grandson has very serious communication issues. He has speech delay very badly. And he alerts for Danny when Danny is having trouble communicating and needs help. Then we got my big, huge guy, Spirit, and he definitely is a physical assistance animal and a very good guard puppy for the house. He's 6 years old today. Today's the 12th, and today's his birthday, so I'll be cooking him dinner in a little while. And then we got Snowflake, my fluffers. And that's who you hear snoring very softly in the background. She had been terribly abused. Similar to what my Snowy had been before I got him. And we drove to East Mesa to get her. So they were going to put her to sleep the next morning, and I was like, no. They thought she was 3 years old. It turned out, through our veterinarian, we found out she was not quite 2 when we got her. And in September, we'll have had her for 2 years. So she's a little over 3 years old now, and she's really a sweet little girl. And she guards wherever I walk around to, in case I fall, she'll alert my husband and get me help. Oops, let me pause you guys for a moment. So, as it happens, the barking you heard was my youngest child coming in. And guess who came up in my lap? Looky here.
I'm trying to get tuggers.
Hold on. Let me pull you out here. This is Crystal in Winter. This is the last of my little original babies. And there with her head down in Snowflake is my daughter Sarah. The only one of my children who cross stitches and needle points.
The only one that looks exactly like her.
When I was young. And this is our last baby, Fluffy Snowflake. She's gotten so much healthier. This is the little foundling, Ladybug. Look at her now. Her so healthy. And this is, that's the birthday boy right there. The big, giant birthday puppy. They came to interrupt the Stitch with Me video.
They decided you needed a break.
I guess I'll be back to stitching in a few minutes, but I thought I would let you leave with, oh, here we go. A pretty little Christy face.
You leaving?
She's like, I'm out. I'm dipping out.
She was, Mom, put me on the camera again.
Okay, sorry about that, folks. My daughter wanted to chat, so, you know, when you've got adults for kids, and, you know, she's the mother of a 4-year-old son, so, oh goodness, little white puppy hairs from Spirit. You know, you stop and you take the time for them, because they're not always home, and, you know, usually they're out on their own, and she came to visit for a couple of days, and we've been talking and about some things in her life, and she's probably going to move home, which means my grandson will be here every other week. We would rather it be full-time than part-time, but we haven't hit school age with him just yet. So these little white hairs, believe it or not, are only from the big guy. Spirit, the people who had him shaved his coat for 4 years, and so he is the only one of my babies that sheds.
I shed.
Except my daughter, yes. Except my daughter. You will hear her little voice in the background here and there.
Sorry guys, I don't feel good, so I'm not very talkative.
She's got a migraine today.
And a backache.
Yep. But it's nice to have her home.
3rd day in a row.
And as I was saying, she's the only one of my kids that is into this kind of stitching. My oldest daughter, my other daughter, who's my oldest daughter, she'll knit, but embroidery, cross stitch, needlepoint, not so much her thing.
Tia was digging those puzzle balls.
Yeah, she likes doing the quilted puzzle balls. It's an older thing nowadays, but it's still really a great way to teach, you know, a younger generation to sew. My son even, I made him learn to sew and knit and cook, because what if, you know, this was before the millennium, what if technology had gone to crap and he didn't marry somebody who knew how to do those things, you know, he would need those skills. And they came in really handy for him in the Navy, out on aboard ship.
Yeah, because they don't let you iron on the badges. You have to.
Yeah, they have to be sewn on, and a lot of the guys that he served with, they couldn't sew. So he was helping out his buddies and making a little extra cash, and just like his grandpa. So it was pretty cool. You know, traditions passed down.
Drink just as much as coffee as Bob did, pretty much.
Not as much as...
That's all the only thing you had to do on deck, but now they don't let you even take a cup up on deck. You have to go below deck to enjoy coffee.
Oh, yeah. So Sarah's been out of habit for stitching for a while.
Yeah, so Mom's giving me a
and
small project.
I had this old, basically eyeglass or cell phone case that I had gotten that's a stitchable piece, needlepoint. And I had gotten it as a teaching tool because there were some young women in their late teens and early 20s that I was teaching at the time. And so she will be starting this piece. See the pretty little lighthouse? When are you doing that, Sarah? Starting it tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight, probably.
Probably tonight, after we cook Spirit's birthday Chinese food.
General salad with shrimp.
Yeah, one of my kids love it when I make Chinese food, which is funny because Sarah took us out for Chinese food last night.
Yeah.
Because we always buy her dinner, and we had found a new place that wasn't so expensive that we wanted to go to.
My mom bribed me. She sat there and went, hey, they do a glazed orange chicken, not a saucy one. I was like, damn you.
Yeah, it's a Cantonese style. And,
Chocolate was asking about that place because
it's so
he
good.
understands the difference between a glaze and a sauce. And he said, you glaze? I was like, yeah, dude, it's so good.
Okay.
He's like, where is it? I was like, I'll ask Mama and let you know.
43rd and Olive. So, we went there last night, and she and her dad, it was like they were in her high school years again. They were laughing and giggling and pointing and poking, and my grandson was just cracking up because Papa was picking on Mommy. It was so funny. The whole restaurant was laughing. I was embarrassed to a degree, but on the other hand, I looked at how often does a young woman get to, have fun with her dad. And that was really good for them, and I think good for all four of us. We just wish that, my other kids could have been there.
Yeah, it would have been awesome to have them.
But they work, and that's how it is. That's life.
They got their own lives.
Now, something for those of you, most of you Stitchers, I think, have either cats or dogs. I am not a cat person, folks. I'm not. I had them as a child.
We're allergic.
And I'm very, very allergic and not willing to endure the injections anymore. And on top of that, kitty cats are not typically as
amazing,
affectionate as puppies. And Snowy addicted our whole family to American Eskimos because they are part wolf, so they're incredibly intelligent. Even more so than most breeds are. And I love dogs, period.
Mommy, don't lie to them. Snowy got us addicted to the breed because of how awesome he was.
He was amazing, folks.
Best puppy I've ever known.
If you look at past videos on my channel, there's a video of Snowy. And he was already 15 or 16 years old when that was done. So it'll show you
We got Snowy right before he turned 2.
How utterly awesome Eskies are. And they are. They're just beyond amazing to me.
The right amount of love after being abused, they heal pretty easily.
Yeah, somebody had used his ears as an ashtray. And done much worse to him, sadly. And
made it to where he didn't have any more puppies.
Then my pretty boy, he came to be my boy, and we didn't have any other puppies for 7 years. And then my daughter spotted Frost.
I found my wife.
So that did that in.
Now, don't think I'm a bestialist because I call her my wifey. She's my furry wife or wifey because I was absolutely in love with her. And Snowy was Mom's furry soulmate.
Yes. So anyway, what I was going to say, for those of you who do have furry companions, or in my case, hairy companions, because Eskies don't have fur, they have hair. Microscopically, there is a difference. My future daughter-in-law is a vet assistant, and she comes out and trims their nails for me, and she will help me with anything that they need, which is really a nice additive, but we would take Ashley even if she was a garbage girl. She's just the most amazing, sweet little Italian girl, and I'm Sicilian, so is my son.
My brother cool, calm, and collected, and keeps him balanced, dude. She makes my brother so happy. I've never seen my brother this happy. My brother had the problem of he would be part of my French guys go to really evil brats.
And then they would screw him over every time.
Yeah.
Because he's a very sweet boyfriend.
I'm very protective over my brother. He's the only biological I have. I may be the baby, but these are my siblings, and if you mess with them, I'm gonna mess you.
Okay, Sarah.
So, when he found Ashley, I was just so grateful for the fact of my brother finally found somebody that made him happy.
And she does. We all love her. So it's quite a good thing because she'll never have to wonder if, she's welcome in our family or at events or...
It's driving my brother crazy how much he loves her and how much we have all already told him that he needs to marry her.
I threatened his manhood.
Last time I told him that, he told me he was going to thwack me right in the forehead.
Anyway, so, yeah, I have kind of crazy adult kids. Yes, I do.
Kind of. I'm the craziest out of all 3.
But I will tell you something about them. When I got sick, they were still quite young when I got hurt.
I was 8 years old.
And they have forever stuck by their mom and tried to help Mommy and protect Mommy. And helped with training the service puppies. And they come home every once in a while and spend a little time checking on me and making sure I'm okay. Because they know that my husband also has his father to take care of. So they don't like putting that all on their dad.
So a lot of the times when I know my dad's going to be gone all day, Mom will call me and I'll come over and help her out throughout the day.
Yep, and when she has my grandson, he has his own room here.
Yep.
So, you know, he's very, very well provided for here. And she's a good mom. She's a young mom. You know, they get frustrated.
I'm 24, guys.
They get frustrated. My other kids are 28 and 29. Oh, the one is almost 30.
Not till August.
Anyway.
I'm telling you right now, she'd tell you, hey, quit making me old.
And she is my only married kid.
Mm.
And we adore my son-in-law. So we've been very blessed in the fact that, you know, the people who come into our lives as a family are an addition to our family. They're not troublemakers. They don't bring a negative attitude or influence. We are extremely blessed in that way. Checking where I'm at on this. Okay. So yeah, we've been, we're not, you know, overly friendly with the families, but the significant others, they are part of us, for sure. So I'm going to take a short break here, folks, and I will be right back, and we'll pick up, because I have to reshift things and all that.
Stitch you later.
Okay, folks. So, here we are. I think I screwed up and changed the angle of my camera. Youch. Let me try and fix this real quick. Okay, sorry about that. I guess I'm playing balancing act with my phone here. Anyway, so now that Sarah's in another room, not yapping away. Yeah, I stay home and try to deal with my illnesses and my Eskies, make sure that, you know, I can function and live as normal a life as possible. They are just a lifesaver. Esky is the nickname for American Eskimo dog. But we typically do not use the D word in our family. Because Snowy didn't like to be called a dog. And we just got used to it. He would go pout. And I have 3 girls. So, and Spooky Doo, Danny's service pup, is a male. And Big Ol' Spirit, one of my service pups, is a male. But obviously Chrissy, Ladybug, and Snowflake are little girls. You will probably see them throughout the years on my channel. They're all over my other videos. They're just so pretty. But Snowflake is sitting... She's being cute. She's laying on my feet right now. Oops. So she's having a good time just being a puppy. I'm going to try to sit up. And Chrissy is laying next to my bed on her mommy puppy's red pillow. Now she's stretching. She's so cute. She detects when my heart rate, sorry about that, gets going too fast and lets me know that I'm on the verge of another mild heart attack if I don't slow down, right? Not something I'm really great about doing, slowing down. So this video is already just about a half hour. And I'm very much not happy with where this stitch before this is sitting. I don't like it. I'm kind of a perfectionist in my stitching. Just a heads up, I've never done a Hade, I've never done a Mirabilia. I've only seen one thing from Lizzie Kate that I like. So, no, I will not be stitching the typically popular patterns. I am very much an individual in what I make, and I was a vocalist and musician for many, many, many years. So, and a nurse. I'm still a licensed nurse, but I worked for the military, so I don't practice medicine of any sort anymore. I don't work in the field any longer. I just don't think it's a good idea with my illnesses to try to keep my head kind of screwed on straight. That just is not going to let me correct it. So I'll show you a trick I do. I am not one for seam rippers, folks. I will take out each individual stitch to fix a problem. That's my nature. Anybody who wants to back shame pieces, because I've heard that recently that is going on. Wow, am I just not the person you want to try that with? Because I don't care. I do my backs as neatly as I can, because that's how my grandma taught me to stitch. But I'm not entering them in competition, and I am not one to really take to heart other people's hypercritical opinions. Constructive criticism, I'm more than happy to accept. What I'm doing right now, it wanted to go cockeyed. Apparently I caught it under a thread and didn't mean to. There we go. And like I said, I'm kind of a perfectionist, especially on this piece, because this piece represents Snowy, Frosty, and Chrissy together. We've never found an American Eskimo puppy pattern, ever. So, although I'm still looking, and if I can't find one soon, I'm going to get a hold of the program that allows me to convert photographs, and I may produce my own line of cross-stitch. I've made many original ones in my lifetime, and I don't see why I can't put some of them out there for the rest of you. But at the moment, I'm just working on what I have. These patterns that I've had for so long, that got caught on my ring, that I just was not well enough at the time to work on. There we go. So, yep, I had gone up a thread too high. I didn't think that stitch looked right to me. Told you, I'm a little picky. Just a bit. Like, a lot. She's in the bathroom, sweetheart. That's my grand monster. Go. I call him Danny. So, anyway, yep, this is all I'm doing today, is filling in these shadowed trees. Yesterday, this is the puppy that represents Snowy. He is, let me grab that. I put it back in the plastic, so there might be a little glare, guys, I'm sorry. It is this wolf right here, the large male. And I'm working on this first quarter of the pattern, so that I managed to get all of this filled in with the second palest blue. I'm not putting the white in until last because of hand oils, and you know, that's something you want to not have to deal with trying to whiten, in my opinion. And the only problem I have with this Aida cloth is that this one is quite stiff. And I've noticed that the darker the color, the stiffer the Aida. And I know a lot of you say Ada, and I did when I was young, but my husband, who is fluent in several languages, including German, and Spanish, and French, and I'm fluent in Sicilian, which is a dialect of Italian, and he is fluent in Italian. So, we know that the proper pronunciation is actually Aida. But personally, I don't care how people pronounce it, as long as they're enjoying their stitching. And I think that's the thing about any sort of needlework. Don't stitch what you don't enjoy, because you'll never finish them without resentment toward those pieces if you ever complete them. And I am not one to want to resent a piece. I want to enjoy each and every stitch. Yes, there are times when I can stitch like lightning. Like now, I could be going super fast. But I would rather enjoy the process. So yes, I am more of a process than a product stitcher, and I'm that way in some knitting, but like Fair Isle, which is color stranding for those of you who do not knit. But when it comes to things like knitting a hat for my kids or something like that, I'm really a product knitter, and I can just get in there and fly through it and get it done. It's just this kind of stuff where I'm very much focused on what I'm trying to do. Making sure I'm where I thought I was in the pattern and don't fill in something that shouldn't be, because it's in between the trees. Like here, it does not get filled in. So, tonight, if you want to see my progress, by the way, oops, I went through the wrong hole. My Instagram, I need to change it, but for now, it's Amber Marie 3765. All one word, no spaces, because that's how Instagram is.
Yeah, don't let my mom fool you guys. She's got an everyday vlog as well. It'd be cool if you guys would subscribe to her, because then she might be able to actually get a paycheck for once.
Well, it's all on this channel right now, Sarah. I haven't opened another channel. I'm thinking about moving my stitching videos over to...
Well, at least they know that your vlog's on the same channel.
To a channel that I'm considering calling Stitching with Eskies.
Yeah, that works.
Because everything I work on is going to have puppy hair in it. Which, in knitting, an old wives' tale is that it brings the wearer good luck to have a dog hair knitted into their piece. So, hey, it's, you know, good and bad. And to have a strand of the knitter's hair knitted into it is supposed to bring good health. So, yeah, my grandma taught me some strange things. She was born in 1913, and she taught me some really neat things.
Shit, Grandma was born in 1913?
Yes, and watch your mouth.
Sorry. I never knew her date of birth.
December 5th, 1913.
Well, I knew her birthday. I just knew her birth year.
And my grandpa was September, he died when I was 10, September something or other, 1906.
And then my grandpa was November 8th, 1931.
Yeah, so we have a lot of
Scorpio
history that we can look back on from my family that adopted me.
I'm going to tell you guys, my grandpa was a really cool, neat guy.
He was a hero.
Oh, yeah.
To every American for their sense of freedom.
30 years in the Navy.
And for me, because he saved me from a very abusive person. Thank the Lord. And I had known him my entire life, but yeah, I probably would not have survived my teens without him. The beatings were very significant. Anyway, I am going to end this video. At this point, you can see that we filled in the bottom portion of the two trees. And by the time I come back to my Instagram tonight, you should see probably all these tent stitches will be filled in.
Now, if you guys do want to know a little bit more about my mom's past, I know for a fact that she has a video on her YouTube where she talks about what she's gone through, what she's lived, what kind of conditions she's lived in.
The only reason I did that was to help other
kids went through and put her through. So my mom's really cool about that. But I am going to let you guys know that I am getting ready to post some covers of songs, because I am a vocalist, on my YouTube. I'll have my mom post in the comments my YouTube.
Yep, we will place that in.
Name.
And I will somehow get my daughter to start doing Flosstube videos.
Maybe.
Watch.
I'm not that devoted yet, Mom. I'm just now getting back into it again.
Anyway, folks, we will see you later. I have a strand here that's not sitting the way I want to, and I'm going to go in and fix it. Enjoy your stitching. My thoughts and prayers are with all of you, as always. And God bless you. Bye-bye, guys.